Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. Today we are doing a friendship reading between Nayeon and Tzuyu, and I believe someone commented if I could do them specifically, and that's why I put it in my plans to do it, and here we are. So with that said, let's just kind of jump into the reading and start off with a card that best represents the dynamics between Tzuyu and Nayeon. So two cards kind of fell out. We have the apple with continuance, and this is a water element with the symbol of Capricorn. And then we have a card called Tarragon with regeneration. This is a fire element with the element with a sign of Aries. It seems like the dynamics between Nayeon and Tzuyu is one where it's a healthy, cleansing and healing type of relationship. With the apple, I'm thinking of being in a professional setting but also having some sort of an emotional comfort or connection. And also with the apple, we have I'm thinking of like the whole saying of like one apple a day keeps the doctor away. So that makes me think that the dynamics that they have is one where they try to care for each other and they try to create either a safe environment or try to create a healthy working space. So I don't necessarily know how close they are, but there is a sense of like they try to create a safe space or a comfortable place where they can work. And with the emotions, I'm getting this whole idea of like they know how to keep things professional, but at the same time they know how to talk to each other if there ever is anything that they need. And with every generation card, it makes me think of someone that is like going through this rebirth moment, or trying to put themselves back together, or trying to heal and cleanse something. So that's why there's this dynamics of creating a safe space between them. I don't really know how they are, and I don't know how you guys see their dynamics, but the elements that we have here is water and fire, which are opposing elements. I do feel that Tzuyu and Nayeon may have a dynamic where they're very different, and even though they may clash sometimes, because also with a Capricorn and Aries, those signs square. So this makes me think that they're both very... Their interests could be very different. However, their approach in life can be similar enough that they can understand where the other one's coming from. But either their goals are very different or their hobbies are very different. So they don't always clash. However, they don't always see things eye to eye, and I do feel that this like differences that they have is where they can grow the most. And I do think both of them put an effort to get along, but I also feel that they kind of have to go out of their way to get along. They go out of their way to create a space where they can both feel comfortable in. So I do want to say that they both put like the time and effort to have a relationship, if that makes sense. You know how there's some dynamics or some people that they just get along? They don't have to put a lot of time or effort in getting along because they're either very similar or their differences is not something that puts any strain in the relationship. Well, with Tzuyu and Nayeon, that's not really the case. They both put the effort to hang out together. They both have to put the effort to get along. I'm not necessarily saying that they're like cats and dogs, but I do feel that they don't really share enough similarities outside of their career. So like if they were both out there in the world and they were not co-workers that had to deal with each other constantly, I do feel that they wouldn't really have much of a relationship because of how different they are. But I don't really know them. You guys know them better than me, so you have a better idea of how they get along or not. So yeah, I do want to say it's not that they hate each other or anything. It's just that they're different enough that I don't think they will have crossed paths otherwise. I wonder if this has anything to do with the fact that Chuyu's a foreigner, so if it wasn't because of their job, they wouldn't have met anyway. Or who knows, actually. Destiny has a funny way of doing things. Anyway, so one card to represent Nayeon in this dynamic. We have the Two of Cups. and Temperance reverse. And then one card to represent Chewy. And one card to represent Chewy in this dynamic. We have the Queen of Cups reverse. The cards that represent Nayeon is the Two of Cups and the Temperance reverse. This makes me think that in this dynamics, Nayeon wants to create a relationship, wants to get along, wants to create a sort of union of understanding. So the Two of Cups talks about union. It talks about two people are pouring their hearts out to each other. There's this sense of having a connection, especially a sentimental one, because we have Cups energy, which is all about emotions, spirituality, and creativity. So this shows that Nayeon is usually the one like reaching out to Chewy, is usually the one that wants to like get along, wants to create a beautiful dynamics between them. Make sure that they're both equal, make sure that they're both in the same page, make sure that both of them are able to express to each other how they feel. And the Temperance card reversed makes me think that if anything, Nayeon could be a little bit impatient sometimes, or may feel that whenever anything's out of balance, that's when she feels like she should step in to make sure everything's stable once again. So when I mean out of balance, it could be like either their environment is not doing that well, or maybe one of them is not doing well, and that's when Nayeon feels like she should step in and put everything back into harmony and put everything back into balance. Also, Temperance is a Sagittarius card, and Sagittarius is usually an energy of someone that is very energetic, very happy, very optimistic, very outgoing. It is a sign that does not shy away from a challenge, so that makes me think that if there is any restraints, conflicts, or clashing energies between Chewy and Nayeon, Nayeon doesn't really feel bothered by the differences that they may have. If anything, she sees that as even more of a challenge to overcome, and if there's ever a difficulty that gets in between them, or just if they ever have a fight or something, I think Nayeon is the type that doesn't really have the patience for things to fizzle out. She may be a bit more confrontational and is like, let's solve this issue, let's get to the root cause of this conflict, or something along those lines. So also with the Temperance card, I do feel that Nayeon wants to be like a guardian angel or something for Chewy. Now, the person that puts a little bit more of restraint here is Chewy with a Queen of Cups reverse. So the Queen of Cups is Scorpio energy, and with the Queen of Cups being reversed, I do feel that Chewy is just naturally very guarded. I don't think it's necessarily against Nayeon that she's like, nah, let me put my guard up. I think this is just Chewy's natural response when it comes to having any sort of emotional connection. I don't really remember the dynamics that Chewy has with other members, but I don't think there was. I think the most we have gotten with Chewy is usually like a very amiable, gentle, and caring dynamic that she has with other people. But I guess nothing is standing out to me of Chewy having like an emotional connection with anyone. And maybe this is where they kind of clash a little bit. I think Chewy is okay with just being friendly with people and being kind and respectful with each other. I don't think Chewy is necessarily looking to have like this in-depth emotional connection with anyone. And I don't think this is necessarily because Chewy doesn't like people as much as it's like she could be extremely sensitive and emotional. Well, maybe not emotional, but very sensitive to people. So I do feel that she guards herself a lot in a way of like protecting herself. She's constantly being surrounded by people. She's working and socializing with people all the time because of the job that she has. So I do feel that could be a bit exhausting for her. And because of that, she has her guard up and her walls are there to defend her and protect her. I'm not saying that Chewy is not capable of feeling emotions as much as I'm saying that she guards her emotions so much because of how I don't think she like shows her emotions too much outright. I think it does take her to be surrounded by people that she really cares about and being in an environment that she feels comfortable in for her to show how she feels. Because this Queen of Cups reverse makes me think that she's very guarded with her heart and her emotions and her vulnerabilities. And I also feel that she is very sensitive to the people around her as well. So if someone gets very angry or something, that could really trigger something in her. Or if someone gets sad, she can, like, in a way, being very empathetic towards others, and she can be a bit of, like, of an empath and feel it herself. like a little sponge, like absorb it. So this Queen of Cups reverse tells me that she's very guarded, and if anything, the clashing energies that her and Nayeon could have is that maybe Nayeon wants to get to the little vulnerable side that Chui has, and kind of be a safe haven for her. But I do feel that Chui may put a bit more resistance, and not necessarily because she doesn't like Nayeon as much as it's because that is like stepping out of her own comfort zone, and it may take a bit more time and effort for the dynamic that Nayeon may want, that may desire to happen. But now let's go on to the third question and figure out how they see each other. So how does Nayeon see Chui? We have the Nine of Wands, if it makes sense. And how does Chui see Nayeon? We have... Actually, that makes sense. I was sensing that a little bit. We have the Knight of Swords. So Nayeon sees Chui with his Nine of Wands as someone that is very cautious, someone that has their walls up, someone that is a bit more on the defensive side. And one of the reasons why one of the reasons why Nayeon is not put off by this energy that Chui has is because Nayeon knows that it's a defense mechanism. She is aware, or she may know why Chui is very closed off or why her walls are up. There is a sense here with the Nine of Wands that they've been together for so long. And in this case, I will include the whole group. They've all been together for so long, and they've endured so many hardships together, so many challenges together as a group and as individuals, going on their own path, but also walking together towards their own goal as co-workers and as a group. That Nayeon knows why Chui is so cautious of being vulnerable and why she has her walls up. Because the Nine of Wands usually talks about someone that is being very cautious and has their walls up or is in a defense mechanism because they've already experienced something that has hurt them, and because of that they're a bit more careful now. And this card also, this specific Nine of Wands, makes me think of people that are like getting ready to go to war. So that makes me think of it as a metaphor of sorts of how as a group Twice has endured a lot together, and they've overcome a lot of challenges and a lot of difficulties together. And because of that, I do feel that along the way many of them have changed and transformed to adapt to the environment that they're in, and many of them have of course changed over time because of the things that they have experienced in their journey as artists. And I think this is that maybe to us it's not been shown through the cards, but at least Nayeon knows why Chui is so close off, and she's able to see it. However, if anything, maybe she has seen how difficult it has been for Chui in such a way that she wants to protect her, take care of her, and make sure that Chui knows that she's been supported and that she has someone to be there for her. I'm telling you though, I do feel that they're very different though in this dynamic. They're so different, either with their approach on things or just personalities. They're so different that they can clash a little bit, and I do feel that even if Nayeon tries to create a comfortable environment for Chui, their personalities make it hard for them to have common ground enough. And I think that's why they both need to kind of put the effort to get along, because I do feel that there is a big gap between them in just by nature they don't have a lot. Either they don't have a lot in common, or just their approach and their way of thinking of things, their process of doing things is so different that sometimes they go past each other. That's the best way I can explain the energy. It's like it makes me think of two people that see things so differently that when one person is trying to do something, the other person is like, oh, that's not a very big deal, so I don't understand why you're putting this much effort in it. It's kind of like if you have someone that is very practical and maybe a bit distant and cold, and then putting them against someone that is very emotional and sentimental. It's kind of like that. So like whatever both of them value and whatever approach they think is the best, sometimes it goes right over the head of the other one because of how different their personalities are. So maybe when one person thinks, oh, I did this and I want to apologize because I didn't want to bother you, I didn't want to annoy you. The other person's like, I didn't see any issue with that at all, so I don't even know what you're worried about. That kind of thing. It's like their personalities are so different that I do feel that that's why they both need to put the effort in, because the things that they value, the things that they think that they prioritize and that they feel that they should be concerned with is so different that sometimes they kind of miss the mark with each other. So yeah, because I do want to emphasize, because with Nayeon there was someone else I was like, yeah, they don't like each other, but in this one I do feel that it's more like there's just a space between them that I think is just natural because of the personalities and the people that they are. Now, with the way that Chui sees Nayeon, we have like if you see this, both figures are looking in like opposite directions. So it's not even like they're not seeing things eye to eye. They're not even looking in the same direction. But anyway, the way that Chui sees Nayeon with the Knight of Swords, this is Gemini energy, and also this is the fastest moving knight in all of tarot. So it makes me think that Nayeon may be either very energetic, very talkative, or a little bit too over the place for Chui. I think Chui is someone that will prefer someone to be a little bit calmer, or a bit more grounded, or she would prefer for Nayeon to slow down a bit. There's also this sense that Chui sees Nayeon as someone that not only someone that's super energetic, but also someone that can be a bit reckless, someone that is very action oriented, someone that is very proactive, and also someone that the moment they have an idea in their mind, they take action upon it and they get those things done. That's why I mean like very proactive. And also someone that moves very quickly. And again, I do feel that this could be a bit clashing with Chui, who may prefer someone that it's a bit more toned down and a bit more calmed down. Someone that takes things one step at a time instead of like taking leaps and leaps forward, which I do feel that in this case Nayeon is being described as someone that moves very, very quickly. Now let's go on to the next question and figure out how do Nayeon and Chui like to spend their time together. So we have Basil with trust, and here we have Scorpio energy. So yeah, it seems like the way that they like to spend their time together is just figuring out how to get along. They like to spend their time together. You know what I'm getting? You know when groups get in like this, okay, everyone, say what you think, say what you feel, and have like those emotional, like heart to heart conversations. That's usually how they like to spend their time together. I don't know if they go out of their way to be in such a situation, but one thing's for sure, when there is heart to heart conversations or talks like that, and when they're both able to be very honest and vulnerable with each other, that is the times that they both treasure the most. So in this case, I don't know if, because usually my intentions with this question is figure out how do the people in this dynamic go out of their way to spend time together, right? So that's why usually I think of like people that are either sharing a hobby or maybe sharing food or sharing their time together, like stuff like that. That's usually what I'm thinking about. But in this case, I do feel that the card that we got represents something a bit different, and it's more like maybe not them going out of their way to have heart to heart conversations, but whenever something like this happens, that's when they both really enjoy each other's companies. So I do feel that also with this Scorpio energy, it makes me think that it takes them a bit to reach the point of being this vulnerable with each other. Like I think is usually like it's usually the point where you have people like being like choking up on their words and like crying and sobbing to cleanse their energy, that type of life. I think that's usually the time that they treasure the most to spend together, or this is when they know that they have each other if there's ever a hardship. So this makes me think that you know those people that, like when you have, let's say you have like a, makes me think of a big family and everyone has like the people that they kind of get along with the most and that they're usually with together, but that doesn't mean that the ones that don't spend time together don't get along, or stuff like that. So it makes me think with Nayeon and Chui that since there's like a hierarchy in the group, and don't take this in a bad way, it's just that Nayeon, as the oldest one, if she has to defend the group or speak up for the group, it will. I feel Chui will not think of Nayeon as the first person she will talk about and tell her discomforts. I think it will kind of have this progression of like Chui will probably tell that to the youngest members or people that she's a bit closer with by nature. Tell them like, I didn't really like this, I didn't like that, and then it goes up the ranks in a way, and then when it reaches Nayeon, that's when she goes like, okay, I'll solve the issue for sure. So I do feel that that's why there's like this dynamic of like they do get along and they put the effort to get along. However, there's not a lot of overlapping areas of interest, comment, or just positions. Like as I mentioned earlier, Nayeon is the oldest one, and then Chui is the youngest one, so they have like 7 people in between them, if that makes sense. And then since Chui is a foreigner, she may enjoy to be a bit more with the foreigners than with the Korean ones, because she shares this whole idea of like, I don't know what's going on, what's happening, and it usually happens. Like usually, the foreigners in K-pop groups usually get along because they all kind of went through the struggle of like adapting to a new culture. So that's also what I'm getting at, is that they just went through different experiences. They have very different ways of doing things, and there's not enough common ground for them to just naturally gravitate towards each other. So I do feel that they do get along. It's just that, at least from Chui's part, Nayeon wouldn't be her first pick when it comes to like bearing her emotions and her troubles with. I think she will prefer to do that with somebody else that she's a bit closer with. Also, I do feel that if their approach are very different, I think Chui will prefer to be with someone that will be able to kind of like give her a hug and tell her, everything's gonna be okay, rather than being with someone that is like, okay, who hurt you? I'll beat them up. Which I do feel that Nayeon may have that personality a bit more, and I do feel that Chui goes like, yeah, you know what? Let me talk to someone that we can work through these emotions and not necessarily start pointing fingers and be like, we're going to get rid of this, we're going to get rid of that, and try to like solve the issue that way, right? I don't know. It's almost as if Chui sees someone like that as having a very aggressive approach to something, and she will prefer not to cause trouble and just go with the emotions that kind of way. But if there's ever an like super big issue that needs to be taken action for, I think Chui will go out of her way to tell Nayeon, because she knows Nayeon will do something about it right away. So now let's go on to the next question and figure out, what does Nayeon like about Chui? You have 2 cards, and then what does Chui like about Nayeon? Oh, this is so cute! Nice! Okay. So, with Nayeon, she sees Chui as a 3 of Swords and Temperance reverse, which I want to point out that this is the second time this card comes up. And this makes me think that one of the things that Nayeon likes about Chui, which it's a bit weird because you don't want to see the 3 of Swords here, is, I'm going to say this. She sees herself in Chui when Chui is going through a very rough time. So, one of the things that she likes about Chui is that she is able to see how there's challenges that she overcomes, and there are times, how should I put it? She likes when Chui goes out of her passive mode and then goes into her proactive mode. There's this sense of like, because I'm seeing the Temperance card reverse as Nayeon and Chui mirroring each other, so being very similar. So there's this sense. Let me put it this way as well. Nayeon is a Virgo and Chui is a Gemini. They both are ruled by Mercury, so they can have a lot of similar like personality traits, but they're still different signs. So there is this sense where Nayeon likes how Chui and her can be very similar, but when they're similar is usually when Chui is going like turns on this switch and it's technically going out of her norm, if that makes sense. And I do feel that usually when Chui reaches this Nayeon mode is that's the best way I can describe it, is when she is either in a lot of pain or someone wants to hurt her or someone wants to do something to her that she's not okay with. So when someone's overstepping a boundary of sorts. The Three of Swords usually talks about heartache, pain, and heartbreak. And I do feel that Nayeon sees, like, what she likes about Chui is when Chui starts talking or acting in such a way that Nayeon can see herself reflected in her. There's this idea of like, oh, I thought her well, or I'm glad she can defend herself. I'm glad that she's able to have a very proactive approach to things instead of being a bit more like laid back or more in like low key type of energy. Which is the Temperance card reverse makes me think of someone that's out of balance. And one of the ways people can go out of balance is if they're going through something challenging or through pain, emotional pain, mental exhaustion, that kind of thing. And also Temperance reverse makes me think of someone that is being impatient. So that's how I'm saying that one thing that Nayeon really likes about Chui is when Chui reaches like her tipping point of like, okay, I'm annoyed, I'm not gonna tolerate this anymore. I'm angry, I'm upset, that kind of thing. Because I feel like usually in those moments that's when Chui becomes a bit more proactive. And it seems like Nayeon likes that when Chui kind of stands up for herself. Now, on the other hand, the thing that Chui likes about Nayeon is the Empress energy, and every time the Empress comes up in the Happy Tarot, I have to point out that this is the most beautiful Empress I've seen. She's so cute, she's so adorable. It is my favorite card in this deck. And the Empress is Venus energy, and usually the Empress talks about abundance, fertility, someone that is beautiful, confident, secure, safe, stable. And yeah, the Empress, it talks about being very, very abundant. That's why fertility kind of comes in as well as another form of abundance. And this makes me think that one thing that Chui likes about Nayeon is that she's very confident. She really likes how Nayeon is proud of her power, proud of her rule, proud of her how should I put it, of her position, proud of her career, proud, like there's this sense of like Chui likes how Nayeon honors her hard work, her effort, and like the position that she's in, if that makes sense. And I do feel that when I mean position, I mean like the position as an artist, as a co-worker, as a friend. There's this sense of like whatever responsibilities Nayeon has, she goes through with them in a very effective and I guess responsible way. And that Chui really likes that about Nayeon. She really feels that Nayeon has either a very nurturing or caring energy. Also with the butterflies right here, it feels like one of the things that Chui really likes about Nayeon is that Nayeon is able to kind of like transform herself and go through this metamorphosis of growth and independence and just improving herself as a person. And again, with the abundance, in a way, it makes me, and also with the bunnies, it makes me think that one thing that Chui really likes about Nayeon is Nayeon's proactiveness to like actively manifest things into her life, being so abundant or lucky in a way, because there's this sense of like Nayeon works so hard to open up doors for herself, to search and look for opportunities for herself, and that always gets her like a step closer to her dreams. And I think that's something that Chui really admires or really likes about Nayeon, that proactive energy of this go-getter, hard worker person. Mm. That's what I'm telling you. There's a sense of like, um, Naya's proactive energy can be a bit aggressive for Chewie, but seeing this Empress cards right here makes me think that Chewie doesn't dislike it as much as it can just be overwhelming sometimes. But let's go on to the next question is what have they learned from each other? So what has Nayeon learned from Chewie? We have the High Priestess reverse. And what has Chewie learned from Nayeon? Oh, that's actually very nice. We have the Two of Cups. So this Two of Cups here makes me think that we've gone for full circle somehow. So with the High Priestess reverse, one thing that the High Priestess is the energy of the moon. It represents the moon, and it talks about our emotions, our intuition, and also makes me think of like intuition or spirituality because the High Priestess as well, right? The High Priestess does talk about untapped potential. So with it being reversed, I'm not getting anything too bad necessarily, as much as it still feels very positive even though it's reversed. It's like the thing that Nayeon has learned from Chewie is how to deal with people that are very sensitive, perceptive, intuitive. Like Nayeon has learned how to not be super overwhelming to people like that. She has learned how to kind of like calm down a little bit. But also with the High Priestess, there's a sense of like not necessarily that she has learned, but I think Chewie may have highlighted to Nayeon the manifestation and accomplishments that Nayeon has been able to go through on her own. It is like kind of like the High Priestess talks about untapped potential and manifesting from a subconscious place. And with it being reversed, it makes me think that Nayeon is able to actively reach this part of her. She's able to look at her shadow side, or is able to look at her intuition, her subconscious, or she is aware of how to. She is aware of her untapped potential, if that makes sense. So it's not necessarily like she doesn't see it, or it's not necessarily like it's hidden for her, as more as like she sees it, she knows it, it's there. That's why I feel the High Priestess here is reversed and it's still very positive. If anything, it feels like she hasn't necessarily learned this from Chewie as much as Chewie just highlights this for Nayeon, and it's this whole idea of like Chewie like cheers Nayeon on to continue in achieving her goals, her dreams, and improving herself as a person. And that's what I'm telling you. It's not necessarily what she has learned from Chewie as much as Chewie is a companion, a cheerleader, or someone that's supporting Nayeon in her journey to continue expanding and growing as a person. If anything, I think that main thing that Nayeon may have learned from Chewie is to kind of tone down her energy and not being too overwhelming or overbearing towards others. But aside from that, it's more like Chewie is like a reminder to Nayeon of her highlights, her accomplishments, her work in progress, her dreams. It's like she's going places and Chewie is just there highlighting to her like, remember you've accomplished all of this, remember you've done all of this, which is another form of not only encouragement but another form of healing. Is like being able to acknowledge the path and the journey someone has gone through is part of healing as well, because sometimes people can get very discouraged or may feel like they're running in place. So when someone reaches that point, it's better to kind of look back and try to look at all the positive changes that have gone through their lives so that it can like re-energize that person to continue moving forward, or to give them the ability to continue staying patient while they're waiting for their opportunities or the seeds that they've planted to kind of like grow and bear fruit. That kind of idea. On the other hand, now this is very interesting to me. The thing that Chewie has learned from Nayeon is the Two of Cups, and I do want to point out that the card that represents Nayeon is the Two of Cups as well. So this makes me think that the effort that Nayeon puts to like get along with Chewie and to like reach out to her and create like this safe space of healing and emotional, I guess an emotional connection type of thing, Chui has learned from that. She has learned the time and effort that Nayeon has put in the dynamics that they have, and in exchange, Chui has put her time and effort to be open and vulnerable. But do keep in mind that this is her kind of stepping out of her comfort zone and also stepping out of her norm. Like, I do feel that Chui is not super emotional. I do feel that she's very sentimental and very sensitive, but I don't feel she is moody or emotional. Again, doesn't mean that she doesn't have emotions, as much as the realm of emotions, or like the water element in astrology, is not something that she really dwells too deep in, and is not really the way that she lives her life by, if that makes sense to you guys. So this Two of Cups makes me think that one of the things that she has learned from Nayeon is how to be a good companion, how to try to create this emotional connection with others, how to have the heart-to-heart conversations, how to have a heart-and-heart connection to someone, how to have an in-depth emotional relationship with someone. This Two of Cups makes me think, especially this one, makes me think of like best friends. It makes me think of, because it looks like you have like childhood friends having a picnic together. So that makes me think that one thing that Chui learned from Nayeon is how to have a beautiful friendship, how to the value of being emotionally vulnerable towards others, and how it creates a stronger and even a more stable bond with others. So I think that's the main thing Chui has learned from Nayeon. And also, the other thing is that Chui has learned that even in easy flowing, or I guess hard relationships, time and effort is necessary. So what I mean here is, like, even if you have two people that very naturally get along, even those people need to put time and effort to nurture a relationship. It's like the time to be with each other, the effort of being there for each other as well. So not only spending time together, but also being of support and present to each other. And I do feel that Chui has learned that in all relationships, their energy, time, effort, and attention has to be put in to allow those relationships to blossom. That kind of vibe. But to end off this reading, let's go on to the very last question, which is like the purpose, like the reason. Why did Nayeon and Chui meet? Wait, a card that kind of wanted to come out. So we have Beetroot, Passion. This is an earth element, but we have Leo energy right here. It feels like the reason that they met was for both of them to encourage each other and nurture each other, and also like motivate one another to continue with their life, with their dreams, to continue improving as people. But I do feel that this passion keyword may seem a little bit of a surprise with the energy that we have here. But let me explain one thing, especially because we have the earth element. The passion that we have here feels that it's not necessarily like an overwhelming amount of emotions, as much as is like an encouragement of a stable and steady moving forward in life. It is this sense of like creating, not having like this burning fire that takes everything in, but it's more like this candle, or like this small fire that is constantly being fueled and is steady, alive, healthy, but not overwhelming. So that's why I'm getting this sense of like the word passion fits, but not necessarily the way that people usually think about it or see it. But the reason why Chui and Nayeon met was so they could help each other remember, or to not forget, why they're doing what they're doing in their life. So if it's connected to their career, is to, or like whatever dreams or goals or whatever it is that they want to achieve in life, is that they met so like that they could continue encouraging each other to move forward. And we saw that a little bit more the with the with the thing that Nayeon has learned from Chui, and how Chui is over here like reminding Nayeon of her accomplishments and how, and like her journey and her growth as a person, right? So her in this case being Nayeon. So that is one way of encouraging passion. And on the other hand, it feels very gentle. The energy feels gentle. The On the other hand, like the reason why they met as well is for, in a way, for Nayeon to help Chewie feel safe, secure, and vulnerable, in a sense of like being able to have a safe space to feel emotions, a safe space to express those emotions. And in a way, also, by doing that, is like encouraging someone to have the courage, the bravery to continue with their own journey and their own Goals. Also, with the Leo energy, it makes me think that one of the reasons why they have this type of dynamics and the reason why they met is like that they could help each other grow as people and transform into people that are a lot more confident, a lot more secure. Because I'm thinking of Leo energy, just being happy and optimistic. And it fits because we saw earlier the type of dynamics that they have is one where they're able to create like this healing and cleansing energy between them. The best way I can describe this is of like if you have an older and a younger sister, like you have Nayeon as like this protective, overbearing but loving older sister, and then you have Nayeon that is a bit more of a passive energy. She's like cute, adorable, must protect type of energy, but Chewie is still like this supporting pillar for Nayeon in a way. And also the admiration that Chewie has for Nayeon is one that brings a lot of life and happiness to Nayeon. That is also fuel for her own, and also encouragement for her to continue moving forward with her own life and with her own goals. So that is like the reason that they met, to have this dynamic of support, even though it manifests very differently for each, like both of them have a very different approach on how they support each other, and also the effect that they have on one and the other is very different, right? Like Nayeon's proactive nature doesn't necessarily rough off on Chewie, but it does help Chewie feel comfortable in a way. And Chewie's calm nature doesn't calm Nayeon down as much as it just is like a stable support for her. So what I'm saying is like they both have very different personalities that don't really have an effect on each other to change the personality of the other. However, it's still helpful, encouraging, and supportive for one and the other. Again, as we saw earlier, it felt like they could have clashing energies, and their differences are like the different energies that they both have. The most that it causes is for them to be focusing on completely different things, but not necessarily for them to clash as people. So I don't see fights and arguments here as much as it's just like both of them having to put the effort to look at each other. Something along those lines. So yeah. I hope you guys like this energy. I hope you guys enjoyed the reading. It was a bit challenging for me to describe the energy that Chewie and Nayeon have, because I have done other friendship readings, and at least for Nayeon, I do know what it feels like when I'm reading for people that don't like each other, and also for other friendship readings, I also know when I'm reading for people that strictly have only a professional relationship with each other. Like, what I mean by that is like there's no emotional bond, and there's also no desire to go beyond the we are co-workers type of vibe. So I have felt those energies before in friendship readings. That's why it was a bit challenging for me to describe to you the dynamics that Chewie and Nayeon have, because it was none of those. I don't think they hate each other. I don't think that they just see each other as co-workers. I do feel like both of them do put the effort to be friends, and they do put the effort to get along. And again, they do have clashing energies, but not, I guess clashing is not the best word. It's more like they're very different as people. They don't necessarily clash as much as they kind of go past each other. So that's why, if anything, I do feel that this is a pretty good example of people that are very different, and that, you know how they say sometimes the polars, like opposites attract. Well, in this case, it's not the case either. It's like their energies don't really gravitate towards each other, and they're very different. So the fact that they get along is because both of them put the time and effort to make it that way. And I do feel that this is a very good example of how relationships need to be nurtured, and like energy, time, and effort have to be put in any relationship. Of course, any relationship that you desire to nurture, of course. So I do feel this is a very good example of that. And I hope that you you guys were able to learn from that, if anything. So yeah, I'll leave this here. I hope that you at least found this entertaining, and I'll see you on the next one, whenever that is, however that is. Love and healing from my part to you, and bye.